Star Citizen. Hey everybody, welcome to the November Subscribers Town Hall. The Subscribers Town Hall where we take a few moments out of our monthly lives to sit and address questions exclusively from Star Citizen's development subscribers. I'm your host, Community Content Manager, Jared Huckabee. And joining us on the show this week, in a last-minute audible, which I have to thank you guys so much. If you watched Citizens of the Stars yesterday or you perused the subscribers den last week, you know that we wanted to get the UK environment art team. They had to pull out at the last minute for 3.0 tweaks, but luckily we have a murderer's row of fill-ins, if I do say so myself, here to talk to us about cargo and shopping. So why don't we start immediately to my left? Why don't you tell everybody who you are and what you do for Star Citizen?
Sure thing. I'm Spencer Johnson, associate gameplay engineer working on shopping, insurance, and some cargo-related stuff.
Nice. Shopping, insurance, and cargo.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. How long have you been with Star Citizen?
8.5 months now.
Hey,
Started in March. Still a little bit of a newbie, but compared to these guys anyway. Pretty sure Chad is ancient.
So, yeah, some of us are very ancient.
Damn.
All right. Immediately to my right, why don't you introduce yourself? Who are you and what do you do?
I finally get to answer that question now. I'm Will Maiden. I'm senior system designer out of Foundry 42 in the UK. I'm over here in LA to keep an eye on cargo and commodities, insurance, scanning, a whole cornucopia of systems.
Senior
they're all working.
systems designer.
Yeah.
Whoa.
What makes it a senior?
Just
being old?
Yeah, probably. I've been doing
Wow.
games for about 12, 13 years now. So, yeah. Been at Foundry for about 2 years. 2 years on, what day is it today? 22nd, 23rd?
Today's the 21st.
On the 23rd, I'll be here 2 years.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
And last but certainly not least, tell us who you are and what you do for Star Citizen.
My name is Chad McKinney, and I'm a lead gameplay programmer here in LA. And I've worked on a lot of gameplay systems, the interaction system, damage, the room system, power, persistence, all kinds of stuff. Sometimes I forget all of
You
it.
just touched everything.
Yeah.
Like we went offline for some reason.
Oh, no.
No. They didn't actually want to hear
Am I
what you had to
downloading
say.
episodes
Yep.
of
I should stop my torrenting.
Oh, God, yeah, I left.
I think this is that Hugo character's trying to.
No,
Yeah.
I,
Some,
Are we back?
You know, in Airplane, the picture of Johnny when he pulls the cord, and it's like.
I
Okay.
hacked copy build
Let's
3 to.
All right, we should be back up, guys. So,
Hey.
all right, the relationship between designer and gameplay engineer. Go.
So, yeah, it obviously everything starts from Chris, and he will kind of outline what he wants to see. The cargo system, we knew it was the kind of the basis for everything. So, we knew we needed to be able to take cargo from place to place. All of these cargo ships needed to be able to store cargo. So it was kind of what's the most fun way of doing that. We looked at other games where you do it all through a menu, and that wasn't what Star Citizen was about. We needed that physicalized sense of taking cargo from one place. The connection. I have a box, and I can go down at any point and see that box.
Mm-hmm.
So we knew we needed to physically generate that cargo and show it in your ship. So we needed a way that it wasn't just going to be in everyone's way. So we needed to set up a cargo grid that kind of restricted where that could go, and so kind of just the evolution of our requirements really kind of laid out, okay, well, we need a grid, we need physicalized cargo, we need a way of moving it, we need a way to buy it, and so yeah, we ended up with a cargo grid, and you can physically pick it up, and there's commodity kiosks where you can buy it. So it's I don't want to say it's not rocket science to downplay your guys' job, but like the design of it it's
It's a lot harder than what he's saying. But go on.
Yeah.
Please continue.
Please continue how my job
Did
is.
it get dark in here? All that shade?
It got warm. But no, yeah, so the design side of it was self-explanatory of what we wanted to do, which meant it was incredibly easy to sell that idea to the team of like, here's what we want to do with this system, here's how we're going to get there. And then immediately there was no like, well, I don't understand this. It was like, yep, that makes sense.
Okay, and what does an engineer do with that information?
I think the first step is always complain. and say,
Accurate.
why did you do this to us?
We were just talking about the pain in the butt idea people are before the show started, weren't we?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Were we?
Yes,
Oh, yeah,
he
we were
was.
totally...
People come like
He used to
people
be
come
an idea person.
Yeah, people that come
Yeah.
to game development.
Till
Like,
actually
I just
started
want to be the
making
idea
things.
guy.
Yeah.
I just want to be the idea guy. Can I just be the idea guy?
Well, that's totally how I started, and then I realized that no, all those people just you gotta stop it quick. Like you can't do that. Nope. You gotta work for it. You gotta do stuff. But yeah, it usually starts with getting a feature requests from design where they will do their best to outline exactly how these different designs not need to be implemented because that's our job, but what exactly they expect to see. So there's things we talk about like user stories where like, oh, we've got, Jenny here is going to go buy, 10 SCU of, Astain, and it's going to go into her Cutlass Black or whatever, and we expect her to go to the commodity kiosk, and, they'll outline images like, here's step 1, 2, 3, 4, and then she clicks purchase. So they need to do their best to outline exactly what it'll look like in the game so we can interpret like, oh, all right, if they need it to look like this, here are the underlying systems we'll need that can achieve like that end user story.
Yeah, it's when we look at a design like that from a technical perspective, you're looking at what it's going to take, the resources that are involved, kind of the timeline. You want to tier it out. You want to immediately raise any concerns potentially that may seem like they're not very difficult, but if you understand how the engine works and what tech we have right now, could actually make it take a lot longer. And you come up with a plan. You have a kickoff meeting to kind of hash all that out. You kind of establish a baseline of where you want to start from with the design and kind of where you plan on ending up, especially for if you have an upcoming release. And so, yeah, it's a lot of... I like gameplay programming, and the reason why I got into it, I imagine Spencer as well, is because of the very reason that it's so closely knit with design, that you get to work in that more creative aspect. And so you're doing something very technical, but at the same time, you're doing it in collaboration to make something that's like creative and fun and tangible.
Mm-hmm. Now, we've got some questions coming into the chat. Right off the bat, I think this is a follow-up to our Citizens of the Stars not quite so quantum questions that we had yesterday, where we showed the entire... Quasi-questions.
There's so many good names for
We
that
asked
section.
people to submit names for it, and I think the one I liked most was, "You asked for it." Just call the segment, "You asked for it." Will automated cargo unloading take time, or is it instantaneous? Now, in the demo we did yesterday, they sold, and the cargo went...
Yes. The design is that I think it's instantaneous, isn't it?
I have the task on me to make it take time.
Because I remember
Yes.
writing that it should take
Yes.
time. I didn't want to contradict you.
No.
Currently, it's not on the slate,
Yeah.
at least for PTU.
But to be clear, that is a fixed time after which it will instantly appear in your cargo grid.
Mm-hmm.
So there has been talk that I don't remember exactly, but there has been talk that I've seen about making it more of a physical process. But currently, yeah, it's instant.
It's important to remember that 3.0 is the very first iteration.
Yes.
Like for anybody who's followed Star Citizen since 0.08, when Arena Commander came out, looking at it, what it was then, looking at what it was now, that's iterative game development. This is just like that. It's not the finished product. It's not the final end-all, be-all of how the cargo system will work. That's coming out in 3.0. This is our very first, foray into the system.
Yes.
So when you go to a shopping kiosk, you sell, and it goes...
Yeah.
But obviously, you don't want that to happen with like a fully laden hull D.
No, that's absolutely one of the balancing systems that we're looking at for the future is if you've got a big ship that can hold thousands of SEU of cargo, if you sell all...
Go make a sandwich.
Just because it like the amount
Coffee.
of product entering into the world and the amount of money you're getting, if that was fast, it would break it. Like no one would not use cargo. Like cargo would be the number one way of making money because profit per SCU is going to be what it is. We need to make sure that's in line time wise with going out and hunting criminals or what have you. So yeah, the time to unload a ship needs to be physicalized as well, and that also means that if for piracy in the future, if you steal a ship and you want to unload it, you're trapped in a location for a short period of time. Like there's all sorts of counterplays to that. Oh, I've got to load a big ship. Okay, well that's going to take some time, and now I'm in this location for however. But it feels real, I think.
Oh, yeah. Another follow-up question I think is to that. Will cargo always auto-populate and depopulate when they are sold and purchased, or will there be a mechanic to manually unload cargo from a ship?
We want to manually unload. For 3.0, we can't because we are auto-populating, and we can't physically pick up the boxes yet. No, we can pick up the small boxes. Big boxes are beyond the player's strength. So yeah, the plan is to bring in manual loading and then hopefully auto loading either through NPCs or drones. Like all sorts of different things are being looked at the moment. So especially for ships like the Hull where everything's stored externally, we want to have that process take time. But that kind of speaks to the earlier issue of how long does it take to load a box onto a ship? Because even if it takes 10 seconds to pick up a box, fly it over, attach it, we're talking about potentially thousands of SU worth of cargo. So you could be there for hours. So it's whether or not that's like, do we want to lose your afternoon playing, just loading a ship and then flying and then another afternoon unloading? Is that fun? Potentially not. So yeah, it's striking the right balance of how fast these drones work as well.
And here's a question about cargo persistence. All right, we demonstrated yesterday. You go down to a derelict. You pick up a cargo. You pick up a cargo box. Say you fly it back to Port Olisar. You land. You don't choose to sell it on the thing. You take you pick the little cargo box up. You walk it back in through the airlock. You walk it back into Port Olisar. You drop it in the middle of the ASOP terminals, and then you log out.
Yep.
What happens to that cargo?
It stays there for a period of time until it gets cleaned up automatically if there's no one around, which will be pretty fast for a small object like that. If you log in again, it depends on which instance you go into. If you end up in the same instance, you could see the cargo again. If you end up in a different instance, you won't see it. If you leave the piece of cargo in your ship, you leave the ship at ATC, you log off, log back on. It will be in your ship, the last place you left it, because that's something that is part of your account and it travels with you whenever you go into different instances.
Okay, so the moment you take it out of your ship, it kind of becomes free game.
Yeah. So that's because we have instancing in the game right now. Whenever we eventually move to a more like server mesh based technology, we'll be able to have either like large or single representation of the universe. And so that means that if I leave something on a planet by a certain rock, it's there for everybody that plays the game. We're not there yet because that's going to take some rather tremendous work to get us there. But for things that are part of your player accounts, like your ships, your loadout, your attachments, those things follow you whenever you log off and log back on. And we're exploring. I don't want to like promise too much. We're exploring currently ways that we can make that experience better, so that if I do happen to leave something somewhere and I log off and log back on, it may be there. But it's still early days for that kind of stuff.
Next question is, how will the spawning of boxes at wreck sites be handled? For instance, like when you go down to the wreck and there was a metal and there was a chlorine that was there. Will we see them spawn at random times? Is it on a cycle? Every 10 minutes another box spawns?
I don't know about replenishing existing derelicts. I know there's plans for more derelicts and have them being generated off the back of missions and other things. This is really our first foray into a lot of the derelict stuff because we're doing planets for the first time. I'm not sure. It's going to depend on how much the community, how fast they find these, how often they're used. We've got a whole bunch in. Off the back of that, we'll see if we need more. If the algorithms aren't set, because a lot of these are algorithmically placed. So we want to put boxes with derelicts so that once you strip them, they're clean, and then if you go back there, someone's already been here. Like I think that kind of like if they were just constantly dropping, there'd be a constant stream of ships going down to the same location. So we want to make sure that
it would just be camping the site.
Yeah, exactly. So we want to discover them, and I think part of that discovery of like, I've heard on the grapevine, I've heard on chatter, people have been saying, a ship went down. I'm going to try and find that and get its cargo. We also have. You destroy a ship, you'll get some of its cargo as well.
Yeah, it will spew out cargo boxes.
What a glorious explosion! Just they're everywhere.
Okay. Next question: or rather, are other players allowed in your cargo space while you are adding cargo via a kiosk? And how is the system? Oh, well, that's the first question. We'll do the second question.
Yep.
So somebody's standing in your cargo. Somebody's standing in your freelancer cargo room when you buy cargo. What happens?
We just had a change that went in yesterday to kind of finalize this behavior. But effectively, if you're standing in that grid, whenever you go to the kiosk, the amount that is occluded there will be subtracted from the cargo space whenever you go to the kiosk. So you can't trap somebody in. Well, you might be able to trap them in, but you can't kill them with the cargo that you buy. Now, we may iterate that on some more, but at least where it's at this very second, if you go look at
Literally
the build,
this very second.
it will get occluded. And that goes for anything. If I leave my Nox, whatever, in the cargo grid, it's going to take up a certain amount of space, and then cargo boxes don't go there.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Interesting. All right. So if you've got 4 people standing in the back of your freelancer, and you go to the terminal to buy some stuff, you're going to see your cargo capacity is much reduced.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So that'll be good. You'll see a lot of troubleshooting. People will go to the thing. I thought my ship had this, and it's only got this, and you put a Nox back there.
Who's the jerk? Like, you'll be at your terminal. Who's the jerk? Get out of the way. Get out of the way.
By the way, you can lock your doors in 3.0. So that's your fault.
Okay. And I guess that we actually answered the second part, and how is the system handling players who are blocking cargo space? We answered that. Good job. There was a question earlier, I saw it scroll by, about, it's a follow-up to the Port All-Star question where you just take boxes. If you pile up boxes and block a doorway. You pile up boxes and block a doorway. Now we obviously answered the question, if you log out, there will be a period of time, and then the boxes will start disappearing. What if you don't log out?
It doesn't matter. If anybody is next to the boxes that could see them and interact with them or whatever, they stay there. But if everybody goes away...
Oh, yeah, the person blocked can pick one up.
Yeah.
Can pick it up.
But if everyone just goes away, then eventually the system will just clean them up because nobody's interacting with them.
Gotcha. And if you wake up in an easy hab and you open your door and you're blocked by cargo boxes, just
you can move the cargo boxes, yes. Although I think making that happen is going to take a lot of effort.
So. Oh, there are people out there that will put that kind of effort into it. I know you people.
Yeah.
I have faith.
Please.
There's going to be one instance where somebody logs in and every door to Easy Hab is blocked with cargo.
That's possible. And there's, so I mentioned earlier before, there's this thing that kind of manages entity lifetime. That's something that I've worked on called the Entity Owner Manager. And that, like other things in the game, have features associated with it, and it's still improving. So one of the things is that for those kinds of like trolley situations, whenever we hit some max capacity for a certain region, we can just be more aggressive about cleaning it up. Just like, okay, you're trolling.
And it's a thing we're obviously going to tweak and...
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. How much power does a designer's user story have over the coding team? I'm not sure about the phrasing here, but I think what he's asking is, you come up with this idea, and then now programmers and engineers have to implement it. How much power do you have to kind of guide them? It's like, no, don't change that. Yes, change that.
I joke.
It could vary a lot based on the feature. One thing that I was doing recently, which is relevant to this, is the prices of things at the kiosk. Because the quantity in which you buy things can be small enough that it's pretty cheap per unit. Like currently, the price that I last heard from Pete McKay for hydrogen, 1/100th of an SCU was like 1 UEC.
That's a steal for hydrogen.
Yeah, of course. Obviously, you're talking about a very small quantity there, 1/100th of an SCU. But if they price it starting at a very small unit like that, something our viewers might not be thinking immediately is you probably need to have decimal point numbers for variance. Like if the economy is like, oh, well, hydrogen price is up right now, so it's 1.1 UEC or 1.2. But currently, everywhere in the game, money is an integer. It's just whole numbers, like 1, 2, 3, 4. And it's a very deliberate design because floating point numbers, if you know anything about computer science, can lead to some weirdness. But the simple answer is, when you're talking about storing important things, like banks do this, like your computer clock does this, you want to use whole numbers, but like really small whole numbers, not like these weird decimal pointy numbers. So we sort of went back with them and like, hey, we really don't want to change how we're storing the players' monies to be these sort of, fuzzy decimal point numbers. So what we're actually doing is these prices in the kiosk can be floating point numbers. just for these prices, but then when we actually store it and sell it, we'll just round up. So if you bought 1.1 per hydrogen, you bought 1,000, it ended up being 1,000 and 67.4 or whatever. We'll just say, okay, you're spending 1,067.8 here. So we're only using part of this whole process. We're using the decimal point numbers, and then we'll round up. Yeah. So that's, maybe a little contrived example, but,
I guess what I would say is that for me, whenever I get some design and some user story like that, there's an idea here. There's kind of the overarching idea, and then the more granular in the detail you get, the more kind of tactical it is. And so that also means kind of the more granular details are often some of the things that are more likely to change, either because of technical limitations or iteration or whatever. And so it's a iteration both on design and technical implementation. So it's not like you get a user's design story and if I ask a question, the designer is going to be totally offended or something like that. But at the same time, I understand that it's playing a role in our game, and it has a lot of thought put into it. So I'm not just going to point something out and just be no, we're not doing that, or that's stupid, or whatever.
It's absolutely an iterative process. No, I like to say this a lot. No game design survives first contact with a coder. You tell them how you want it to play. And then they will tell you can't do that. But you can do it this way if you just change. It's just one of those things where this is the experience I want to achieve. How do we make this happen? And I could tell you how I want it to happen, or you could tell me how it's going to happen. And sometimes you're it's so simple. It's just a grid. And it's yes, but. And then
there's this system that's already
it's
there's
but
this
we
system,
also,
and those are
it's kind of I want to do this thing, and it's yes, but in world space that's this thing, and it's do we do it that way? It's we do it because of a completely unrelated system that you've never heard of, but because we want to stream that information in, it can't be stored in this place, so therefore this, and you're okay, well, what if we just change this? It's let me think about it. And so the smartest person in the room comes away, solves the problem, and then is does it fit?
And then the designer responds, no, go on.
And so then you come back, does that fit the experience that we ultimately want? Okay. And so I think it's one of the reasons, designers, when they get better, they learn to listen more and stop telling. So yeah, that's.
I think honestly, the same thing goes for programmers.
And then of course you get it working. Not perfectly, but you get it working well in your own private little environment, and then you go to integrate it into the game code with all these other game systems.
Yes.
Some game systems that were developed a year ago, 2 years ago, that haven't been touched, and everything.
I'll give you
breaks.
a perfect example that just came up.
Okay.
So we got this cargo grid working. It's great. It's got all these features. You can do all these cool things with it. But there's one ship in the game that has the cargo grid on an elevator, which is the Constellation. You lower the elevator,
right.
You can walk through the cargo. You raise it, you can interact with it, you can't walk through it. It's just one of these things where you don't think about it until you get in the game. You're oh, okay, that makes complete sense because of the way our zone system works. But it requires some iteration on the tech because we didn't think that far ahead.
One ship that's got
it's only one ship in the game.
at present.
Yeah, there'll probably be more, but
Yeah. Well, not until we get it fixed.
Yes.
Not until we get it figured out. All right. Will, I know you've been dreading this. We know the Hull C is in active development right now.
Right, yeah.
What is the plan for loading and unloading outbound cargo on ships like the Hull series?
Okay, so we briefly talked the plan. We're looking at cargo drones and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
We were looking at actually bigger ships as well. Is there a way to take the Argo and things like that? Do we want to put tractor beams on smaller ships, tugs, and things like treat smaller ships that would feed larger ships?
Like the Argo.
Yeah, so that when you arrive at certain ports, they already have either NPC or player characters that can load for you for a small fee, things like that. So they're kind of starting to fall into a weight class of kind of more industrial cargo ships that you would go to the port of Los Angeles or the port of San Francisco, and it would those kind of carriers would take 2 days, 48 hours to unload, just to unload before even leaving the bay, kind of thing. Like it's a full-time job, and all hands on deck to clear that. We could see a similar system where you can only take your hulls to certain Port Olisar may not be set up for it, but a more industrial trading post might be. These are things that we're looking at now, of like, we have our infrastructure, and then we have bigger ships that need to integrate it. Is it worth just putting an umbilical off the side and just automating it, or do we want to encourage players, oh, you've got a big ship, you're going to have to take that somewhere else?
Exactly. There might be specific space stations that are more suited for something like that.
Or we start adding loading docks as a concept that's separate from the commercial, the private docks of just landing pad and off and away.
Just answered the next question: will there be designated loading docks?
There may well be. This is certainly like the Hull C is in progress, and I think that's going to be the first test of cargo point 2. Kind of the next iteration of where we are right now. We've got it in, and most of our internal cargo grids, aside from a few lift problems, are working really well. So it's the outliers now, and the Hull C is the new big outlier that's kind of like, okay, how are we going to integrate that? Because we're also going to see that on the Starfarer. Its external tanks are designated as cargo storage space as well. So, yeah, that's the next big step for cargo.
Gotcha. Yeah, for the person in chat that was like, did they just say the Hull C is finished? No, the Hull C is not finished. It's in progress. You'll see an update on the Hull C next Thursday.
Oh, really?
Not this Thursday,
I'm
isn't the day
excited.
after tomorrow. Next Thursday.
I need to see how it's going
on. If I know my calendar correct. Let's see, what else do we got? At some point in the future, will we be able to open cargo containers and adjust or remove the contents?
Yes.
It's part of the design.
Yeah, it's definitely
Not in 3.0.
Good answer.
See what I did there?
Yeah, it's not in 3.0.
Yeah.
But
it's the same footprint. It's an SCU space with a lid, and inside it'll have its own. It'll have 100 unit space.
Yeah, there's definitely some serious technical considerations for something like that, but we'll figure it out.
It's got all the item ports in there, and like a rifle takes 3 item ports.
Yeah, but imagine you have a ship that has thousands of these
But
things.
these, to be clear, these won't be commodities. You won't be able to open up your box of
Chlorine.
and then just I'll just take 1 chlorine out. I'll just take
A whole
one.
chlorine?
oh,
Can you even hold that
It's
much?
greedy.
They will be inventory items, bits of loot, other equipment, things like that, because the unit system is what we're also using for the personal inventory. So when we talk about how much stuff you can hold in your pockets they will be in terms of units. All guns, like you said, rifles might be 3 units, pistols might be 1 unit, a grenade might be 1 unit. So knowing the unit size of items that you find around, you can put them in your boxes, and then they will take up the same footprint then as every other 1 SCU item in the grid.
Okay. It's a little involved. I'm going to rephrase it a little bit. You pick up cargo.
Yep.
Let's start on Olisar like we showed you. You buy cargo. It appears in your ship. All right, you buy the cargo. You spawn your ship. There's now a box. That cargo is essentially yours, kind of thing. If you log out, it's still in your ship. It persists. The next time you come back in, you start your ship up. It's there. If somebody else walks into your ship and picks up that cargo, first of all, can they pick up the cargo?
Not the 1 SCU boxes.
Not the ones that they're physically capable of picking.
Yes.
So the commodities.
Okay.
So if they go, they pick up that chlorine and just carry it out of your ship. Yes. So that's where you'd want to lock your doors.
Yeah, they can just take it. I mean, the ones that are the 1 unit, the smaller boxes that you can pick up. If someone gets into your ship, they can pick them up and then take them out, and it's not in your ship anymore. They put them in their ship. It's in their ship. They park their ship somewhere. Now it's in their ship.
Gotcha. So
Persistence.
by the same token, if somebody disables a Starfarer or something in space and they board, they can grab your cargo and fly out with it.
Piracy, man.
If someone takes your Nox that's in the back of your ship, puts it in their ship, that's interesting.
Yeah. I don't know that we have an answer for that one just yet.
Put in an insurance claim. That's what you want to do.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Hey, let's talk about insurance. How's that work?
Very well, thanks for asking. Somewhat.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
Actually.
it's not like you're not fixing any bugs right now.
Yeah.
No, it's definitely not a super awful bug yesterday that I don't even know the likelihood that you'd run into this, but you could get into a scenario where if you had multiple ships being claimed at once and you like expedited some of them, but not some others. You log off and you log back in. Next time you access the terminal, it just crashes. And you could never access the terminal again, so you could never spawn a ship again. So there's probably like one Evocati player out there who's just like, and it's all
like,
my fault.
You can log out and log in, you still can't use it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my
Persistent.
Persistence. Working as intended.
Yes. That's what I like to remind them.
Yes.
So you fixed that, yeah?
The fix should be going in shortly.
You're here. and
He's
Yeah.
here not doing
yes,
that.
I had to get special.
Hey,
Who's your lead?
Where's the review on that, Chad?
Yes, I had
Yeah.
to go to Aaron Roberts to get permission to pull you guys out for an hour. So.
Yeah. And
So, yeah.
actually,
Does Evan know about that bug, though?
it's PTU must
It
fix.
is PTU.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Yes. This is a good time to remind everybody that even when 3.0 goes to PTU, it won't be perfect. Even when 3.0 goes to live, it still won't be perfect. There will still be bugs. This is our first major foray into cargo. It's our first major foray into shopping. It's our our 1.5 major foray into shopping. Our first major foray into true persistence.
Yes.
There will be bugs. There will be things that we
Insurance,
don't find
planets,
until it goes to everybody.
missions.
So we see a lot. Oh, they're working to make it perfect for the race. That's not the case. We're working to make it playable and sustainable
Stable.
and fun and stable but it will not be. But there will still need to be work. And every Star Citizen environment, including the live environment, is a testing environment.
Yes.
Even once it goes live. So we will still need your feedback. We will still need your issue council reports to help us. This will still iterate beyond the day when 3.0 goes.
And I think that's one of the exciting things about the insurance is that we're putting in all these numbers, but we don't know how often people are going to crash. We know how often we crash,
Some of us more than others.
which is often
A frightening amount.
So, but like once good players get good, like better players than us get it, then all of a sudden we can see where do we sit on the curve of other players and how often do they make claims. How much money do they have when they made those claims? Are they earning enough through selling cargo and things like that? So we can if everyone thinks this is extortionate, don't worry.
Yeah.
Prices will go down.
Prices will be adjusted based on the more people who get to play it, the more we can adjust prices. So it's a sensible level.
And that actually reminds me, sort of going back into talking about how we can affect the user stories and stuff. Like the design for the most recent iteration of the insurance system, since it has changed a few times. I had that question for you on the equation of how do we want these the cost of expediting to increase over the number of claims. So that's like a feature we have right now where the more often you claim, if you want to speed up the processing time to get your ship back, that price goes up. And that was something that wasn't in the design. It was like, well, what's the formula for this price going up?
I just wrote insert formula. It's it goes up.
Yeah, it goes
That's
up.
someone who knows math.
Yeah, right. But then when that comes to me, it's like, okay, well, there needs to be code in that insert thing here. So what's the code?
Right.
And so I would come back, well, how about we use this logarithmic curve and pretend to be a designer for a minute? Like, what do you think about this? And then we go back and forth. And then Pete steps in and is like, well, actually, how about this even more complicated curve? And we're like, we'll get there.
So we've done a show on insurance before, but this is a good time to kind of reiterate that because you said the insurance system has iterated quite a bit. In its most basic form, I spawn my Mustang, I go out, I fly, it blows up. It blows up.
Yep.
I come back and I've got insurance on it. That gives me my ship back in X amount of time. Let's just pick a time, say 5 minutes, and that's not to say it's 5 minutes. I'm doing a thing for example. So 5 minutes. 5 minutes go back. I get my ship. I go crash it again. Is it still 5 minutes?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so I crashed it again.
Yeah. So currently the design for this is, you crash your ship, you go make a claim on it, you have to wait, we'll say 5 minutes. But maybe some players are like, well, no, I need to go get in this space battle. I'm not waiting 5 minutes. So there's an expedite button. So you could pay, we'll say a reasonable fee, as Will said. This is going to change.
I think it's like 100 UEC or something like that.
It varies per
Roughly,
ship.
yeah.
So, your Idris is going to be way more than your Hornet. But you could pay a fee. We'll say it's 100 right now or 200. And then they'll say, okay, you're going to wait 5 minutes, but now you only have to wait 1. Again, test numbers here. So it'll shorten it to some amount. You could just wait it out and not pay. You've already got the insurance on it. But if you do want to pay to make it quicker, you can do that.
I do. Now, does the time that it takes to get back vary between ships?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So there's 3 variables, and this is another thing I had to talk to Will.
The first iteration.
Yeah. In this iteration, this is another thing I had to talk to Will. After getting the design, like, okay, so you've specified we need the number of claims to matter. We need the time. Ships have a certain amount of time you need to wait, and a certain short amount of time. Like, okay, what variables do you need to edit? And so right now, those variables are how long does this ship take to process after you claim it. So some of them, I've seen currently are like sitting maybe 30 minutes. It varies. How much does it cost to expedite this? So if I want to get it quicker, maybe the base cost is like 100, we'll say. And then the third one is what time does it get shortened to? So some values I've seen for these in our current build are like, okay, maybe the processing time's 30 minutes, cost 200 to expedite it to 5 minutes, And that's what all the designers can go in and fill out this big, spreadsheet of values for all the ships.
A follow-up on there says, if cargo does not become a manual task, what purpose does the Argo cargo have? Well, it will be, we want it to become, like the bigger SCU crates, and then you're going to need something that can pick them up and move them.
And well, that speaks to the player experience. Some players don't want to load thousands of containers.
Everybody loves to help.
They just want to you do it once and you're like, you know what, that was enough for me. I'm soloing. I don't have a big crew. I just want to press a button and then I'll go make a sandwich. I'll press a button and I'm going to take some missions at the same time and buy some gear. Like, whilst your ship is being loaded, if that's the first thing you do, you can go off and do other things, and by the time you get to your ship, it's already loaded. So it's whether or not the player wants that experience or not. We offer the ability to manually load it if you want to, or automatically load it if you don't care, potentially for paying a little bit more. But yeah, striking the right balance, really, between providing what the players want, but not making it too easy.
Mm-hmm. As another follow-up to yesterday's Citizen of the Stars cargo loop that we showed, we've got those small commodity boxes. What are those sizes? What are we calling those sizes?
Those are 1/2 meter boxes.
1/2 meter boxes.
They're not symmetric. They're not SCU. They hold, I think, 6 units.
Yes.
6/100ths of an SCU.
Yes.
Yeah, which we're calling units.
Yeah. Okay. So when we bought it from the terminal, it spawned on the cargo, the cargo grid. It was obviously small enough that you could pick it up and walk it into the front compartment of the Cutlass.
Yep. Right. Yep.
So if you take those smaller boxes and you start walking them into other parts of your ship to try to cram even more than your cargo area, how's that work? What kind of gameplay are we looking at there?
You can sell it. It's still part of your ship, and so whenever you land it at a station, it still shows up as part of your manifest. But they're loose, so that means again they're not locked down tight. Someone can walk in and steal them. So yes, there's still cargo. That said, there was a bit of a change since that video went in. Again, with the previous cargo change I mentioned, where when you're now buying cargo at a commodity kiosk. When you buy it, it's always going to occupy one SU slot at least. So if you say you buy 8 units of agricultural supplies, that's going to occupy one cell, one SCU box in your grid. And so you can keep buying it and fill it up as much as you want until you hit a second or a third. But you can't, say, diversify and buy 1 unit of every single different thing, because very quickly you're going to exceed the physical capacity for your grid to hold it. So it makes you kind of have to invest in a particular commodity if you start buying into it.
Because the boxes don't mix.
Yeah.
So you can't have 1 unit.
You can't have like half and half. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay. This person asks if we can throw cargo boxes or is placing them an only option. What do you want to do with your
you can drop it. You can just
they're full physics.
Yeah. Just knock them around, whatever.
Just stand over somebody and drop a cargo box on their head?
Or fly outside a planet and drop it out of the planet.
Yeah.
Could be fun.
Like Dumbo drop.
Throw it out the back if
maybe with your friend that's been a little around.
To tempt pirates to not attack you and make an offering.
Appease them. Just take it.
Take that box. Leave me alone.
Yeah.
All right. If a ship is destroyed, what happens to the cargo?
It spews out.
Yeah,
there's a little bit of gamification going on there right now. Because we don't have a way yet in 3.0 to move the large boxes, what will actually happen when you destroy a ship, if it has large SCU boxes in it, they'll actually generate smaller boxes that you can move by hand, just so if you're pirating, you have a way to grab that loot and put it into your ship and sell it later. But that's just kind of a placeholder behavior until I think we have a better way to manipulate the larger boxes.
Yeah, my top priority, ignoring Hull C and those ships, is being able to lift the boxes that are too big for you. I've seen a few people talk about the cargo jack in the chat. That's not gone away. The true form of what it's going to take, whether or not it'll be a physical thing you lock on, more likely we're looking at the moment of a tractor beam attachment to the multi-tool, so that you can cut with it, you can weld with it, you can lift a box with it. It's the engineer's tool of choice kind of thing. So, and that would be the case that you could lift it, because that way you can then lift it and put it on a box, kind of like the gravity gun kind of gameplay that people are kind of used to in.
So it's fun.
Yeah.
So when you going back to the blowing up, so you blow up a freelancer that's got 20 boxes of agricultural goods or tungsten or whatever, and the wreck blows up, the player dies, he respawns back at OSR or Grimex, but the cargo that was there is there. So now you can pull up. You have the EVA for 3.0.
You have to work for it.
Yeah, you have to work for it. But you'll be able to take that person's cargo and bring it back to Port OSR and sell it.
Profit.
Does the criminality system apply to cargo at all?
Well, if you attack them, that will. As far as interacting directly with cargo, there's not yet hooks for that. So like if I pick up your cargo box and sell it, that doesn't flip a switch like in criminality right now.
Gotcha. So I just sneak
I
on
think
board some
we're going to readdress. We're going to look at that stuff as we go, because I mean it's a balancing act. It's easy to say, well, obviously I know that that's not yours, so I'm going to bump your criminality, but it could easily be someone that you're playing with that happens to be playing with you and taking your cargo and putting it somewhere else, and suddenly they have a wanted level because you're trying to group together. So how do you distinguish between someone's like stealing your stuff or someone's working with you?
Is it one SCU box big enough for a player to hide in?
To be inside?
To be inside, yeah.
You think?
I mean, if you fold them.
If you fold a player?
Oh, yeah.
You guys haven't been reading the Spectrum chat, have you? We're talking about human trafficking right now.
What if you crouch? What if you crouch?
If you're crouching,
could you ship a player in a cargo container?
Yeah, I think so. May not be comfortable.
I mean, I'm thinking like the Aurora Storal box, which is much bigger. Maybe. I don't. What happens?
1.25.
It's not
meters.
come up yet. What we are planning to, talking about the future of cargo, we are looking at. So we've got
human
ones.
Trafficking.
No.
Ones, twos, 8s, 16s, 24 and 32 are the current SCU boxes that we're looking to support. So 32 being your something that a semi would pull, kind of like the classic shipping container sized, and that will fit nicely in the back of a freelancer and things like that. So there will be larger boxes that you would be storing more commodities in, but they'll all be symmetric.
So yeah, I mean, just speak more directly. Like if you crouch and try to get in one, it probably wouldn't quite fit. But if you killed someone and they're a ragdoll, you could probably get them in there. But you can't open the boxes anyway, so it doesn't. It's all moot. It's all theory craft.
Don't make features for us, Chad. What are you doing?
Okay, let's see what else we got there. Is there an animation for carrying boxes up a ladder?
No.
Yeah, I'm gonna say.
I don't know for the animation.
No.
Could you physically do that?
Yeah.
Are there handles on those boxes?
You're kind of holding them on the side.
Yeah.
Like I think you're holding them on the
Well,
side.
yeah. Well, I think they're probably thinking for the Constellation where it's cargo
Well, it
goes
has
on the thing.
an elevator.
Yeah, you just go up the passenger elevator instead of the loading elevator. That's how you get up there.
That's how that works.
So we're gonna say no
Science.
on that probably. Although I'll mention to Steve Bender and he'll probably
he'll
probably punch me in the throat.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he'll
yeah,
just
right.
make it.
He'll complain and then make it. It'll be great.
Okay. I know there's not a lot of the crew style gameplay yet. This person says if you have a crew and you sell the cargo, can you share the profits between them? Without a gameplay system, in theory, when the time comes that you can actually transfer money between people, you could sell it and then you could give somebody their share. You could give them your share, kind of thing.
You would, for now, you would just probably let them just take the box.
Yeah.
But if it's a one SCU, then no. So
Yeah.
it'll just be your salvage. So a pirate crew actually can pay their crew because you can have the small boxes, and he's like, right, you take this and you take that.
But in 3.0, the ability to actually give money to
Gift
another
money,
player
no.
doesn't exist yet. So at
There's
the moment, no.
Venmo in Star Citizen yet.
Yeah, as far as 3.0 goes, the answer is no.
I have read the design for it though, so I know
There you go.
it's written up and planned for the next
For
slate.
Something.
For the next slate of work to be
Oh,
explored.
might have to take a peek at that.
yeah. What were the sizes of the boxes again?
We've got 0.5 meter, which are just called boxes. We don't have a special name for those. And then we've got 1.25 meter wide SCU boxes.
I think they meant the bigger SUs. You said they were.
Oh, sorry, yeah, we got the 1, 2, 8, 16, 24, and 32.
So close to Piracy too, and then you just
I know. Well, the 24 was needed for a few ships that can't hold the 32, but like I don't think the Cutlass
Respect lost.
can
It's
totally
fine.
fit. And it just neatly fit the Nox.
Yeah.
The Nox and the Dragonfly neatly fit inside those.
That question was for Nubifier, who makes shorter videos so people don't have to watch ours.
Oh, cool! You're going to steal our clicks. Good job. We love you, really.
He asked us to repeat it, sort of thing. So let's see. We saw agricultural goods on our little demo yesterday. This question has come up a lot today. Livestock. We're gonna have livestock.
Well, we've got farming planned.
Yeah.
I mean, that's later down the line, but we've talked about farming before. I don't know whether or not.
There have been talk about fauna, but that is certainly not like in the game or anything. Like we showed the thing, for instance, at CitizenCon with little creatures flying around. So it's something that we're experimenting with in like very early ways, but it's not. There's not code being written specifically for that right now.
Gotcha. What's with these questions? They're from you guys.
Yeah. Explain yourself.
There's a question: how often must insurance payments be made? That depends on the type of insurance you have on your ship. Right now, there's the lowest insurance that we have is, I believe, 2-month insurance. We have 3-month insurance. We have 6-month insurance. We have all the way up to 5-year insurance. We have lifetime insurance. So it depends on the policy that's on your ship. For 3.0, I don't think the policy terms
everyone.
are in for 3.0.
It's all the lifetime insurance.
Yeah, for 3.0, everybody's just
Everyone's got it, and then we will iterate on that.
yes.
Right.
Yeah, so there's no risk of losing anything through.
Oh,
We're still building these systems,
and it's
testing them
always
out.
free,
Yeah.
so you can always wait for your ship. Like
Yeah.
we don't want to be gouging people.
Right.
It's like you lose your ship. You wait.
And the other thing I think that sometimes gets lost in the conversation about insurance is that the other side of it, which is it gives you some kind of real downside for being overly aggressive. So I feel like if you make a mistake or you're messing with people that you shouldn't, like there's a penalty there that, okay, it's not a severe penalty, but it's not like you just can instantly respawn and like whatever, I'll just troll and shoot people because I have no penalty for doing that. Now, if you go and you pick a fight with like 5 other people and you lose your ship, well, yeah, you got to wait a while. Maybe don't do that.
If you got a ridiculously expensive interest, you should act like it.
Yeah. It has some value,
Yep.
right?
Plus, it adds value to the people who took that Idris down.
Yes.
Like
Yeah,
if a whole bunch of raiders decided to pounce on an Idris and take it down, they want to feel like, yes, it's gone.
There's
not,
some meaning there.
Not,
Yeah.
all right, well, in 5 minutes, that's back. So
Yeah.
that's just like you rid a system of a capital ship for a little bit. Now
Yeah.
you can run riot and
Yeah.
and then
invade their.
And when it's
their-
like, oh, they built another, they came back, but at least you felt that its absence.
There's a power vacuum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fair assault. We're not talking about that kind of shipping.
What?
Okay.
Is that for Tumblr?
This question has come up a couple times. Is there such a thing as legal ownership of cargo in 3.0?
Okay, so every now and then I read stuff on this, and it's partly my fault. But
Did you read the comments?
well, okay, so I did an ATV, but so yeah, there's technically like legal and physical ownership, and this has to do with the way that the game tracks and works with regarding to persistent data. So and also slightly affecting criminality. So if you legally own it, that means you bought it or the game gave it to you for some like explicit reason. So like if I bought something at a commodity kiosk, like I legally own that, or if I bought some ship in the game, I legally own it. However, if I have, say, a Nox that's in the back of my ship. I legally own it, but then Will comes in, sneaks in, picks up the Nox, puts it in his Starfarer or whatever. Well, now he physically owns it, even though I legally own it. And so what that means is there's certain gameplay behaviors that will be blocked depending on that. So say I go to the ASOP terminal and I want to spawn a ship. Do I physically own the ship? Do I own this Nox? Physically. No, I can't spawn it. Okay. But maybe he wants to claim insurance on this Nox. He can't because he doesn't legally own it. So it's just a way of understanding the ownership to inform other gameplay systems.
Yeah.
So in 3.0, just piggybacking on that, I spawn a Nox. I spawn a freelancer. I put the Nox inside my freelancer. I despawn the freelancer. I log out. When I come back and I spawn the freelancer, it will have the Nox inside the cargo hold. Okay. Now I spawn a Nox. I get off of it. Will takes my Nox. Puts it into his freelancer.
Devious.
I'm stealing.
Despawns the ship. Logs out.
Still be there.
Okay. So
needs more QA, but
But you know what you do at that point?
Write this.
okay.
That's when you claim insurance
Okay.
because that person has stolen your ship.
Exactly. Okay. So he logs out.
Yeah.
Now I want to fly my Nox.
Yes.
What options are available to me at this point?
it will show as not available because it's not physically in your possession and it's not at your location, so you can't spawn it. You can still claim insurance on it. You can always claim insurance on it. He has access to that ship, and if next time he spawns his ship, he'll have that ship. He can't claim insurance on it, and if he parks it out somewhere else and then logs off, because he doesn't legally own it, next time he logs in, he won't have it anymore.
Gotcha.
And he won't be able to spawn it ever at an ASOP terminal because he doesn't legally own it.
Gotcha. So Will can't spawn it if Will has it blown up. That's it. That's it for
it's
it.
gone.
Yeah.
Yes.
So when Will's got it in the back of his freelancer and he makes his insurance claim, in theory there's two Noxes.
There are
now.
two Noxes.
There are two
Yes.
Noxes.
Yes.
But only one is going to live on for
Yes.
perpetuity.
Exactly.
The other one's life, its days are numbered.
Its days are
It's a
definitely
black
numbered.
market Nox.
Yes.
You gotta keep that in someone else's ship because ATC is going to notice it and be like,
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Exactly.
So if he kept it in the ship, forever, in theory he could hold on to the second one, for a while. We're not worried about it being a duplicate ship in the universe because he's just keeping it in the back of the ship. He's not actually out there playing it. If he takes it out there and plays with it, he's now at risk.
He's at risk, but as far as the system goes, they're two different ships, and it can handle it just fine. So,
Gotcha.
yeah.
Cool. I think just one of the most common questions we've had about the insurance system is how duplication will work. It's like, oh no, my ship was stolen. This complete stranger here
I
stole my
literally did
ship,
steal
and
it.
now there's two of them.
He's a sneak thief.
Gotcha. So, all right, cool. What else do we have? How will cargo work on the Aurora class ships? The Auroras, of course, their cargo is exterior. It's with the store all box. Now I know we don't have the store all box in 3.0.
Right.
So for 3.0 at the very least, what options do the Aurora, if any, have?
You will have cargo pods that are effectively like invisible cargo storage, so you can still buy and sell out of them at a commodity kiosk, but you don't have physical access to them.
Okay. And that's a temporary measure for 3.0 until the store all container and that system comes on.
Exactly.
Okay. Do. Can we make it rain boxes with explosives, or does it make them into bombs? What?
Right now, you can't have anything but a commodity in the cargo boxes that you get from there, so they won't explode because there's nothing explosive in them. In the future, I don't know.
That does lead to a follow-up question, though. Can cargo be destroyed?
In the current iteration, no. That could change.
Okay. So for 3.0 and for the time being, cargo is indestructible.
Yeah, for the moment, yes.
Except if you blow up a ship.
Yeah. Well, if you blow up a ship, you'll break up the cargo. Yeah.
So it still
it won't
persists just in a different form.
and it's only a smaller percentage. It's not the full load.
Got it.
So if you blow up a ship, I mean that's another thing. Like if you blow up a ship, you're damaging the goods, right? So you're only going to get like 10. I forgot the exact number, but some percentage of it that will be generated as loose cargo.
Well, that also addresses another common concern about what's to stop somebody from just blowing up the ship as opposed to trying to take it intact.
Yes, exactly.
You blow up the ship, you get this much cargo. You try to take it intact. You get this much. Right. Very cool. We are almost done. I think we have time for maybe one or two more questions, and we have to let these guys get back to work. Let's see. I'm looking for a good one. Oh, we've a lot of these we've already answered. How many SU will a coffin take up? Man, some of you are morbid. 2?
Mm-hmm.
Standard coffin unit.
Let's see. What else do we got? You guys see any over there?
What have we got? What
do we got? Okay. Here's another question. We just answered the Aurora, the 300 series, another very popular ship, high ownership. What are the cargo options for 300 and 300 series and 3.0, if any?
I don't know. I don't know about. I need to look at my ship database. I don't know how many SEU it's supposed to hold.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I've let the whole team down.
Designer.
Now, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
He's the one that should know that answer.
Well, I feel there's no easy way to get cargo into and out of the 300 right now, which is one of the reasons it's pending a redesign.
It auto loads, so
yeah.
You should, if it's got the capacity, you should be able to hold that much SEU.
It's whatever the designer said it to, in short.
Yeah.
So there's a number somewhere.
I think they're talking about more about the finding a cargo down.
Oh,
on,
I see.
Derelict. There's no way to load.
If there's no way to get to
load
it, unfortunately, there's no. Same with the Aurora. If you can't get to it, then unfortunately that's not available to you. You could only buy commodities
At a kiosk.
at a kiosk. Sorry. Yeah.
Gotcha. And that is, of course, just how it is in this very first iteration.
Yeah. It's getting it in. Like one thing I was really adamant of is that if you've bought a ship with cargo capacity for 3.0, you should be able to use and buy and sell cargo. Physically picking up, placing stuff is a neat addition that we have. But I wanted to make sure if you've bought a ship that can hold cargo, you get to play the cargo side of the game.
Now you could load it up in 0G easy enough because you can just float it.
Oh, I see.
It's just on the ground.
Oh,
There's
I
no
see.
easy way
Could
to
you,
get
like-
up.
Yeah, I
inside.
mean, always.
From downtown.
3-pointer.
If it fits, it sits.
That's probably why I was asking about throwing cargo containers
maybe.
earlier. Maybe that guy was ahead of the game on that one.
If you can, if you can get it in, it'll hold it.
Yep.
It's just
Okay. Now, last question. You said if we put the cargo in the ship, you despawn, you log out, you come back in, you respawn, cargo's there.
Yes.
What happens if you spawn your ship in the hangar? Does the cargo come with it?
That's
to
a
the
great
hangar?
question. No, because, and I'm going to go sit down at my desk and verify this. It's a different spawn process called a persistent clone, and I'm fairly certain I need to go double check this right now. It won't have it, but it might actually.
Or people will start accumulating cargo boxes in their hangars.
Well, that's fine because the hangar itself is only persistent as far as the item ports where you add and remove flare. Loose entity persistence isn't available in the hangar right now. So, actually, now that I think about it, I think it will spawn with the cargo.
Well, if it doesn't when 3.0 goes live, you know where that stopped. This conversation. All right, guys. Well, that's it for this month's Subscribers Town Hall. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you, everyone, so much for taking the time to be here with us. Will, for flying all the way over from Manchester, United Kingdom, just for this episode. Thank you so much.
Very welcome.
A couple housekeeping tips. Friday, the 8-day anniversary special extravaganza begins. Every year we celebrate Star Citizen's anniversary, and this being our 5th anniversary is no different. There won't be an anniversary live stream per se, but what we are doing is a series of videos, one every single day, starting on this Friday for the next 8 days. You'll see more about what those videos are and what they entail in the newsletter and possibly on ATV and whatnot. So stay tuned for that stuff. I think that's all I got for you. So for the Subscribers Town Hall, I'm Jared. That's Spencer. That's Will.
I want to say Jeff.
Jeff. That's Chad.
Chad, jeez.
We've got 2 of them.
I thought we were doing a bit. Oh no.
We'll
Brutal.
see you next time.
See you guys.
Right.